Next up is communication. I don't see anyone has signed up for public participation, so we will move on to superintendent's recommendations and reports.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Begley and members of the board. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Hustle to cover the items listed under Personnel Professional and Personnel Support.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, Mr. Bagley, and members of the board. I have 3 items for your consideration this evening under Personnel Professional. Number 1, resignations, letters A and B. Number 2, extracurricular resignation, letter A. Number 3, unpaid leave of absence, letter A. Number 4, employment, letters A through C. Number 5, corrections, letters A and B. That concludes all the items I have for your consideration under Personnel Professional.
Thank you, Mr. Hustle. Motion to accept the recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Birdie Miller and Mrs. Gundram. Mrs. Lee, please call the roll.
Mr. Napier,
Yes.
Mr. Bagley,
Yes.
Mrs. Birdie Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Gundram.
Yes.
Mr. Bagley, members of the board, I have 3 items for your consideration this evening under Personnel Support. Number 1, resignations, letters A through D. Number 2, unpaid leave of absence, letter A. Number 3, employment, letters A and B. That concludes all the items I have under your consideration for Personnel Support.
Thank you again, Mr. Hustle. I'll entertain a motion to accept these recommendations.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Napier and Mr. Clark. Mrs. Lee, please call the roll.
Mr. Bagley,
Yes.
Mrs. Birdie Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Gundram,
Yes.
Mr. Napier.
Yes.